President Bola Tinubu has signed the amended Student Loan Bill 2024 into law. The signing of the bill by the President came after the announcement of a temporary suspension of the commencement of the student loan scheme and separate deliberations by both the Senate and the House of Representatives on the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TET Fund.
The new law is set to allow Nigerian students in tertiary institutions to access low-interest loans for tuition and other academic needs. Speaking after he signed the bill, Tinubu said no Nigerian, regardless of their background, will be excluded from obtaining the quality of a good education.
We have just signed a bill proclaiming the student loan effectively. First of all, I must thank the members of the National Assembly for their expeditious handling of this bill, considering the children of Nigeria, that education is the tool to fight against poverty effectively. We are determined to ensure education is given the proper attention necessary for the country, including skill development programs. This is to ensure that no one, no matter how poor their background is excluded from quality education and opportunity to build their future. We are here because we are all educated and we are helped. In the past, you've seen a lot of our children drop out of colleges and given up the opportunity. That is no more. The standard and the control is there for you to apply, no matter who you are, as long as you are a Nigerian citizen.
Those are strong words from the president. Well, the new bill establishes the Nigerian Education Loan Fund as a corporate body tasked with receiving, managing, and of course, investing funds to provide loans to Nigerians pursuing higher education, vocational training, and skills acquisition programs. Well, the president indeed said once again, making it clear that no Nigerian, regardless of their background, will be excluded from obtaining quality education. He also went ahead to make it clear that as a Nigerian, you do have the right to receive that. He says, we are determined to ensure that education is given the proper attention necessary for the country, including skills development, and of course, not forgetting, it's also cuts across vocational and the likes. All of this in the programs.
Joining us this morning to discuss this is Femi Adeyeye, co-convener, Fund Education Coalition. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Adeyeye. And talk to us about exactly how you feel regarding the new bill that has been signed into law. How much difference can we see from what was previously presented? Can you please unmute your device?
All right. While he's
sorry.
All right.
Yes,
great.
please go ahead. Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, great. All right. So what has happened yesterday is actually the signing off of Nigerian students into perpetual slavery and their parents into long-term indebtedness. It is so unfortunate that those who enjoyed free education, who were helped, like the president has said, now signing off education from a public service or what's supposed to be a public good into what is now being commodified. What happened yesterday is unfortunate. I know you may not be expecting that, but the explanation around it is that Tinubu regime has now sworn openly to Nigerians that they would get no help, signing off all, taking all their hands off all responsibility of subsidizing Nigerians, either electricity, education, or the major one that we talk about, which is the petrol subsidy. So it is nothing to be happy about. Those who attended that, signing off, best described as slave masters who are now going to make Nigerian students suffer. And we've been saying this thing. This is not the first time we've been saying it, that this is just a ploy to privatize education and commercialize it finally, to now make it a buyer and a seller arrangement, and to create a chain of commerce around education that should normally just be a service to Nigerian people. It is a ploy to hike fees across the country. From different protests that we've done in the past, you will find out that a place like University of Lagos, fees have been hiked by over 300%. University of Benin, University of Jos by over 400%. But what you are about to see after the signing of this bill into law is that fees will be hiked across board by, in fact, you should be expecting 1,000%, because that is what they are about to do. Tinubu has just given his bankers the leeway, the free hand to commercialize what is left of our public education. And I think it is time for those who fought the structural adjustment program, because this is structural adjustment program of Babangida coming through another door. We should be ready at this time to stand against this commercialization of education. There is nothing good about the loan. Nigerian students do not need a loan. What they need is free and quality education, and even grants, and not a loan that will make them perpetual debtors. So that's just the way to summarize it. There is nothing to be happy about. This is quite unfortunate that the little benefits that we think the poor people should be able to harness, from being citizens of this country has been signed off. And that was what happened yesterday with the signing of the student loan into law.
Well, you seem to be very indifferent about this. I mean, you stand at the other side or the other end concerning this loan bill with the points you've made. But permit me to look at some of the areas that many have said proves to be beneficial to Nigerians. One of it is that, unlike the 2023 Act, that was signed in June 2023, and then after that it was reviewed, okay? That act restricted loan requests to tuition fees only, all right? But the new bill now enables applicants to actually seek loans from a broader range of institutional expenses, and of course you do have maintenance allowances. Also, vocational is being added there, so not all will want to pass through the four walls of education. For those who want to go through vocational of some sort, they can also get loans. Now, that's one. Permit me to add just one more out of the many that I've been taking, because I did take a look at the benefits as well all through yesterday. One of it is that the proposed bill actually also removes a requirement for applicants, all their families, to have at least 500,000 naira income. We do recall that conversation, right? Where people said you must have 500,000 naira income before you're able to get the loan. Now you don't need 500,000
per year.
Yeah, you don't need 500,000 naira annually as well before you could get the loan. So how don't you see this as something that has indeed taken those or the poor who can't go to school and has provided them with the means to actually do so?
Yeah, you see, the politicians in our country, they've mastered this art of selling their ideas, and they sell it very well. And what you're seeing from the first, the 2023 Act and what has been repealed and reenacted this time is that they have also checked the pulse from the society. They did not just repeal it because out of their magnanimity. They repealed it and reenacted because of the, the agitation. But everything you've said now, there's a clause to everything. They said this loan application, the granting of this loan is actually subject to availability of funds. It is the same thing they wrote in the Constitution to say, education will be free as at when practicable. So these politicians who run this country, they always keep a clause in everything they do so that you don't come back to hold them. to say, oh, you said you're going to give us, they would point you to the act itself, which says that this thing will be done when we have funds, availability of funds. So this is the idea. Instead of funding education directly, these people have now planned to make education based on buying and selling. Now you instead of funding education directly, you put it in a bank. You create a fund, which is not the first time we have it already. There was in 1993, there's an education bank fund that was promulgated since 1993. There was 2004. So this is not new. What is happening now is not new. The first thing you should ask yourself is that how far has this fund, how has it helped Nigerians? Why do we like repeating policies that
Okay. Mr. Adeyeye, network technology as well. But I do get his point. He's simply, in other words, what our guest is simply saying is, are you back? Are you there? All right. Anyway, what he's saying simply is it's a case of repackaging an old wine in a new bottle. Of course, you do recall that years ago there were funds being given to education, but Nigerians never saw the benefit of it. And now it's like a repackaged process all over again, and that's what he's trying to highlight. But everyone is looking at the benefits that may come out of this. Some are looking at the fact that you do have a repeal and a reenacted bill once more, where adjustments have been made here and there to see if it could benefit, especially those who may not have funds to pay for education. But then again, one of the benefits is the fact that you do now have NEL Fund, which happens to be a body that it stands independent of anybody, be it the federal government and so on. So it establishes an Nigerian Education Loan Fund. That's what it does. That's NEL Fund. It's now a legal entity that can be sued and also can sue independently. So NEL Fund is on its own, is not standing with the government. But I'd like to get his point on that. But then again, Mr. Adeyeye, can you go ahead from where you stopped? You were equally talking about what had been established in the past and how it affects us currently.
All right, so sorry for the disconnection. So what I'm trying to say is that what we do in this country is that we do not measure policies to see their successes, to see their failures, and to see policies that we would never try again. So we've had this education bank, fund that has been promulgated since 1992, down to 2004. Or even down to 2023, that's now been, passed into law. It will take so long before you would understand that this whole arrangement is just an arrangement for profiteers in the education that have now been created in the education sector. The 500,000 naira income issue would be introduced, through the back door. You can take this to the bank. What I'm saying right now, we'll come back to have this conversation. The other one, which is that, you can, the bracket has now been increased, and it's not just for tuition and, for skills and all of that. It's just a way of asking Nigerian students that we will hike fees the more. Based on this economy that is dwindling, we will continue to hike fees, and we would always push you to go and pick the loan where we know that you will not get a loan. Let me just use something very simple to explain this. If government has the money to fund education or to fund a loan scheme, why not just fund education directly? It is just as if I have money to give to you right now, but I have to give the money to a loan app and then ask you to go and pick that money from that loan app. For example, OPay, PAMPay, and all of that. Why can't I just fund it directly? But what they would say is that there is no money, but nobody would ask them questions. When they buy 160 million naira worth of SUV for 469 persons, while 50 billion less than that is even allocated to education. There will always be money to fund their lifestyle, but there will never be money to fund education that would bring about development in the country. There would never be money to fund healthcare that would make sure that our people live safely and they live long. There will never be money, but there would always be money to fund their extravagant lifestyle. So there is nothing to be happy about. There is no advantage from this. What they've done is full-blown commercialization of education, and Nigerian students must be ready to resist this, because the next announcement you're going to get would be increments in fees across board. What you've seen last year is a child's play to what is about to happen now. And as I speak to you, because being an activist, I work directly with students and all of that, and I can tell you for a fact that students already are dropping out. I can tell you for a fact that it's happening at the University of Lagos. It was increased from 21,000 naira to over 160,000 naira. And when it was 21,000 naira, we know students who could not pay. Now that it has been increased to 160,000 naira, people are dropping out of school already, let alone where they are taking it to, which is around 500,000 naira. So you would see what's going to play out in all of this, because at the end of the day, there's still a clause that all of this is subject to the availability of funds. You would apply and you would see it. You would see what we're saying. You would apply and you will not get any funds at the end of the day. And what they would always bring out is that simple clause that this scheme is subject to the availability of funds. It's just a matter of fact.
When you say that Nigerian students need to resist this or else there'll be gross increase in school fees, what do you mean by that?
Yes,
exactly in terms of how they can resist this, because it just feels like, I mean, this is done, it's done. I don't know how
no,
anywhere. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it is not. There is something called law and there's something called legitimacy. So this may have been passed into law, but the legitimate concerns, from students and from our coalition, the Fund Education Coalition, is that this is not what Nigerian students want. And we said this since 2023. We had a press conference. In fact, we have a pamphlet, that was produced by the Education Rights Campaign, 10 reasons why Nigerian students must reject this loan scheme, interest-free or interest on it. It must be rejected, because what we need is affordable education. If you can't even give us free, give us something affordable that our parents, our poor parents, and who have already been pauperized by the economy already, who have been made poor people by the several, anti-poor policies of this regime. You should not add more burden to them, and at the end of the day, turn Nigerian students into perpetual debtors. People you say, okay, after 2 years of employment or after 2 years of NYSC, they can start repaying. How feasible is that with the current unemployment rate in Nigeria, which is eating the roof? Experts have said it is close to 40.6% of unemployment rate. So how feasible is that after NYSC, 2 years after NYSC, I know people who after graduation, they've not gotten jobs all their lives. They've not gotten any job, let alone you giving a timeline of 2 years. So it goes to tell you that these people are not interested in funding anything. Because the big question I think journalists should be asking now, that you've removed subsidy from petrol, you've removed subsidy from electricity tariff has just been increased, you've removed subsidy from education. What exactly is the Tinubu regime ready to fund? It's the big question here. You keep removing subsidy from everything. What exactly are you ready to fund? So when I say Nigerian students must be prepared for serious hike in fee, I'm also sending that message to Nigerian students to resist it. That something is law does not mean that it is legitimate. And it presupposes the fact that Nigerian students must rise at this time to reject the law in totality. At some point in history, it was law, it was legal to sell people. Slave trade was legal at some point, but some people stood against it, and it was abolished. It is the same vein, and it has the same similarity with what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday was the signing off of Nigerian students into perpetual slavery, and it must be resisted.
This is another angle, no doubt. But you do recall as well that the Education Rights Campaign have kicked against the signing of the student loan bill. Not just you. You also have the Nigerian Labour Congress, who have said that they may be picketing anytime soon because they do not also appreciate the signing of the student loan bill into law. So it's a case of what the federal government wants to do to better the future of Nigerians, and Nigerians on the other end saying, nah, this will not work. It wouldn't better the future of our children and also the education as a whole. I'd like to take my final question to you at this point.
Yes.
It's been signed into law. Are we going to see protests against the bill being signed into law? Do recall that some persons are already embracing it, meaning that they cannot wait to go and get those loans and kickstart their career and their future in the educational system?
You see, those who did that, are doing that out of ignorance, and that's the truth. But if they were paying attention to us, if they were following everything we've been doing, they would understand that there is no advantage in what has just been signed into law. So what you will be seeing moving forward is more education. We would need to move out there, educate our people the more on why this law must, be repealed in its entirety. Nigerian students do not need a law. This is not for the betterment of Nigerian students. Those, like I said it earlier, those who fought the structural adjustment program of Babangida would understand better what is happening right now. What the regime is doing is to hands off totally from any responsibility, be it education. So just open it up to private profiteers. That is what is happening right here under our nostrils. So Nigerians must be educated. That's the first thing. And then if it comes to shove, we would lead protests against it. That what we need is for you to fund education, properly, revert all act fees. This is the responsibility of government everywhere in the world. It is not to turn us into debtors. We don't want to finish school and start paying loans, especially in an economy that does not look as if it will be good or it will get better the next morning. So that is what we are saying. Make those fees, revert all fees to status quo. The 160,000 naira that's the school fees right now at the University of Lagos should be reverted to the old school fee, which was 21,000 naira, so that the students of the poor, who are in the majority, sometimes we talk about this poor thing as if some of us have been immune from it. There's a statistics that says that 0.01% of Nigerians have 500,000 naira in their bank accounts. So forget the suit and tie that move around with. There is serious poverty in the land. And that is what policymakers must look at and not commercialize the only thing that is left that can make people move up the social ladder, which is education. Don't commercialize it. Don't turn it to a customer who wants to buy should buy, and who cannot buy should go, and who cannot buy should just go and take a loan, and when they get to the loan point, they find out that they are not eligible, because that is what this whole thing is about. This is just a small screen, so kicking students out of school. And we'll be back to measure this policy.
Well, the bill has been signed into law, but there are several other modalities that need to be even figured out. For example, how the bill can be accessed and all of that. And we look forward to having you again as this conversation progresses. Mr. Femi Adeyeye, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right.